Donald Trump, the anti-truth candidate, is controlling your House of Representatives. The House is still a mess. We still don't have a speaker, and it's still a mess. One, Speaker of the House must lie about the 2020 election. The GOP finds itself without a viable candidate for Speaker, in part because the party finds itself unable to tell the truth about Trump's election loss. Ken Buck, Republican, but we're going to try not to hold that against him for the moment, wound up very disappointed when he asked the two GOP candidates for Speaker, Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise, the answer to a simple question. Did Joe Biden win the 2020 election fair and square? Steve Scalise and Jim Jordan prevaricated and danced. The GOP-only meeting was behind closed doors, but Donald Trump would inevitably hear about it, so they refused to answer. In a closed-door meeting, this guy is afraid to tell the truth, because if he does, Donald Trump will hear about it. Donald Trump doesn't like the truth, and he will come down on you if you tell the truth. Donald Trump, the anti-truth candidate, is controlling your House of Representatives. They weren't direct. They evaded the question. I wasn't happy, so I voted present. And now we don't have a speaker. So it will continue to be chaos. It will continue to be broken, dysfunctional, and not very useful. So no surprise there. Republican House members got elected promising chaos and promising dysfunction. And now they're bringing it to you. They promised dysfunction. They promised to go to Washington and tear it all down, shake things up. But that just means that it won't function. This is the way that Republicans will govern from now on. This is the only thing they have. Tear it down, screw it up, stop it from doing anything, stop it working, make it stand still, because we cannot have progress. That would be bad. The progressives would win. Cannot allow things to progress, anything. The Democrats are refusing to help the GOP out of the House Speaker mess, thrashing Jim Jordan as an insurrectionist, and I think that is an excellent description of him. This is an okay way to describe him. He did, in fact, have something to do with the insurrection. Democratic leaders spoke on the steps of the Capitol and dialed up their rhetoric against Republicans for nominating a conservative firebrand to be the next House Speaker. House Republicans have selected as their nominee to be the Speaker of the House, Chairman of the Chaos Caucus, a defender in a dangerous way of dysfunction. Defender of dysfunction. Defender of dangerous dysfunction. Jim Jordan. An extremist extraordinaire. Hakeem Jeffries, spitting. Or alliteration. His focus has been on peddling lies and conspiracy theories and driving division among the American people. They've labeled Jim Jordan as an insurrectionist and said he would be on a glide path to becoming Speaker if not for the unified opposition of Democrats. That's fine. He is directly involved in the right-wing coup that sought to overturn the 2020 election. Every Republican who casts their vote for him is siding with an insurrectionist against our democracy. Ouch. And I can agree with that. Jim Jordan knew more about what was going on Jan 6. He knew it was coming, he knew what was happening during it, and he was talking to Donald Trump while it was happening. He pissed on the wheels of progress. He stood in the way of the government doing its legitimate constitutional duties because he would rather tear it down than let a milquetoast, middle-of-the-road liberal like Joe Biden win. You can't compromise with that kind of person. Jim Jordan is uncompromisable. He won't compromise for the best thing for the country. He won't jump on board with a middle-of-the-road centrist idea. And that will harm you. It will harm us. It will harm all of us. Will Jim Jordan be indicted by Jack Smith? Excellent question. Maybe. Jim Jordan is moving closer to becoming the House Speaker. Even as a former federal prosecutor said that Jordan is an accessory after the fact to former President Donald Trump's alleged election rigging attempts. If it could be shown that Jordan was part of a conspiracy to defraud the United States government of the sort charged against Trump in the D.C. indictment, and his false statements were made in furtherance of that conspiracy, the First Amendment would not preclude using his statements as evidence in an indictment. The only way they can possibly be criminal is if Jordan had joined a conspiracy to commit a crime, and his speech was intended to further the criminal objectives in that conspiracy. Jack Smith is going to determine whether or not that happened. Jack Smith is going to, it might have. It could have, and it wouldn't surprise me if it did. I'm quite sure they've been investigating the insurrectionists in Congress. Jack Smith can't turn a blind eye to all of that. So, the other thing that Jim Jordan has absolutely been doing is trying to cover up and prevent Donald Trump from being held accountable for his crimes. In a very real sense, he's been an accessory after the fact to Donald Trump's crimes. He's been using the power and authority he has within Congress to cover those things up, to keep them quiet, because he is also responsible. Jim Jordan is worried that if Donald Trump is found responsible or criminally guilty of the insurrection and the Jan 6 stuff, if Jack Smith brings solid charges and convicts him on it, Then you'll have to determine who else helped him, who helped cover it up. That includes Jim Jordan. And he does not like that idea of being held responsible for his actions. Republicans never like that idea. Do not hold them responsible for their actions. Ooh, they hate that idea. They don't want it. So they will use every bit of power, authority, and money they have to prevent it from happening. Jim Jordan was deeply involved in Donald Trump's anti-democratic efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Jordan also helped organize congressional opposition to counting Biden's certified electoral votes. None of Jordan's efforts were rooted in legitimate objections. He simply sought to keep Donald Trump in power contrary to the will of the American people. There it is. If you don't vote the way Jim Jordan wants you to vote, he will use his power, authority, and money to suppress you. You, right there, listening to millions of voters, millions of people that are paying attention, obviously. Jim Jordan will use his power, his authority, given to him by the state and by the Constitution, by the House of Representatives, to stop you from voting and having your vote counted. Why do we allow him to be in charge? Why do we allow him to be in charge? He shouldn't be. Oh, but Waldo, both sides are the same. No, they're not. Both sides are not the same. Obvious, right here. Look at that. Fetterman calls on full Senate to expel Menendez after a new charge. So Fetterman, a Dem, is calling for the Senate to expel Menendez, also a Dem. Senator Menendez should not be a U.S. Senator. I agree. He should have gone long ago, and it's time for every one of my colleagues in the Senate to join me in expelling Senator Menendez. I agree. This is good, because both sides are not the same. If both sides were the same, you would see these senators covering up and trying to prevent any investigation into Menendez, or covering up of his crimes, or saying that it's okay, or convincing you that Donald Trump actually did it. You know, both sides are not the same. One side is far worse. We cannot have an alleged foreign agent in the United States Senate. This is not a close call. Fetterman's smart and correct, and I really like what he has to say. We can't trust Mr. Menendez, so he needs to go. Oh, hi. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, press the subscribe button. If you want to tell me how right I am, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to tell me how wrong I am, leave a comment too. That's good. This is just kind of a hobby for me, so I appreciate you coming by, giving it a watch, and pressing the YouTube buttons. Thanks.